government ya kwanza tunaenda kujenga ambayo ni policy ya chama, policy ya kwanza. Nyinyi ni policy ambayo mtapata tofauti na policy nyingine hii ya government ya Kinshasa ambayo tunapigana nayo. Lazima mwe tofauti. Mlipata vizuri? Ndio pale.
Well, the AFC M23 has officially inaugurated its own police force in the territories that it controls in eastern DRC. This is coming just days after that serious accusation by the Human Rights Watch that the AFC M23 conducted heinous activities against the Hutu population in the territories that it controls. Further, this is also coming at a time when the AFC M23 and the DRC government are still in talks in Doha for a permanent ceasefire in eastern DRC. Well, the formation of this police wing comes at an opportune time. Is the AFC M23 trying to act responsible after these serious allegations by the Human Rights Watch as well as the UN and other bodies? Or is the AFC M23 trying to create plausible deniability as we head towards a ceasefire? Well, this is Bonafide. If you haven't subscribed, kindly subscribe and hit the notification button so that when I release something new on the Eastern DRC crisis, you get notified as soon as possible. Well, all signs are showing that the AFC M23 will continue to hold fast and longer to the territories that it already controls right now in eastern DRC. Because just recently, the AFC M23 inaugurated its own police force to continue to serve the people in eastern DRC, the people who are now under the direct control of the AFC M23 in the territories that it controls in North and South Kivu. In this video here, General Makenga will be heard giving instructions to the police officers who are now going to be in charge of the territories and populated areas where the AFC M23 is controlling. But remember, this is coming at a time when the representatives of the AFC M23 and the DRC government are both in Doha trying to come up with a ceasefire in eastern DRC. There was a ceasefire before, and this ceasefire seemed to be violated, and both parties are now engaging each other in different fronts, both in North Kivu and South Kivu. The AFC M23 was very clear that in these Doha talks, the Doha talks that are currently ongoing in Qatar, the AFC M23 is only interested in two things. One is a permanent ceasefire, and two is the release of prisoners. Now, if you're talking about a permanent ceasefire and the action that the M23 has now done to inaugurate these police officers, it seems as if there is some conflict there. Because the AFC M23, as we know them, they are soldiers. They are fighting the FARDC, they are fighting the Wazalendo and other militia in eastern DRC, as well as defending the areas where they are now controlling. But this inauguration of these police officers raises questions. And one major question is that, are they police officers who are trained from civilians to become police officers, or these were units of the AFC M23 that have now been changed in terms of command and control, that have now been changed to be police officers? If they were civilians and trained to be police officers, then that is a different kind of policing we're talking about. This is administrative. We're talking about the AFC M23 now being in charge of these territories for a longer period of time, trying to assert parallel institutions in eastern DRC, just the same way as the DRC has its police, the AFC M23 has its police. But if these were former combatants or units in the AFC M23 that have now been changed from being combatants to be police officers, then it means that the AFC M23 is playing a strategic game when it comes to a ceasefire. And it also means that we are close to having a ceasefire in eastern DRC. But the gist is this: if these combatants have been turned to be police officers, it means that the AFC M23 is trying to create plausible deniability. It will be very difficult for ceasefire monitors to prove violations, since the M23 can argue that these are local security forces, not combatants. If the AFC M23 and the DRC government go on to sign a ceasefire in Doha as the talks are continuing, then the AFC M23 perhaps will be required to move back from the areas that they occupy so that they can show goodwill to this particular ceasefire. Then if this happens, the AFC M23 will argue that these towns and territories cannot be left bare. Then they will have to remain with the police officers, the local police officers. So if these police officers were former combatants, then it means that the AFC M23 will still have management and control of checkpoints and everything that is ongoing and holding these towns, even if there is a ceasefire. And it will be very hard for the monitors, the people who will be assessing a ceasefire, to say that these are M23, because they will be police officers. And these towns cannot remain without some semblance of authority, because there can be a lot of lawlessness. Therefore, the AFC M23 will argue that we were formerly here, we were formerly in these towns, You have to protect them. There has to be some semblance of authority. And these are not AFC M23 combatants. They are policemen and women who are remaining in these towns so that they can continue to offer services, protection against the innocent civilians. So therefore, this will blur the line between civilian security and military presence, making the ceasefire almost impossible to verify and allowing M23 to maintain effective control without defying the agreements. Regardless of the strategic move of the ceasefire, the FCM23 has been accused by different organizations of conducting heinous activities in different parts of the territory where it controls. This move can be one of FCM23's guarantees to these international organizations and other bodies that the FCM23 is ready to curtail the lawlessness that exists in different parts of the territories that it controls that gives them a bad name. Further, if well implemented, this security organization can push down the level of lawlessness in these towns in the territories where the FCM23 controls. And in the grand scale of things, the FCM23, through this move of inaugurating police officers, want to be seen not only as a combat force fighting the FARDC and fighting the Wazalendo, it also wants to be seen as an administrative organization that is capable of managing the affairs of the people in the territories where it controls. And that move now adds up the banking system that the FCM23 launched as parallel structures to the DRC government just to show autonomy of control of the territories where the FCM23 has authority and the DRC control zones. Well, I will keep informing you of the latest of what will come out from Eastern DRC regarding this inauguration of police officers by the FCM23. Keep it bona fide.